Hello everyone, welcome back to City Skylines. I just wanted to start this episode off by thanking everyone for such an amazing response on my previous episode, so thank you very much for that. I hope that this layout works well for anyone who's actually decided to use it in their own city. As you can see here though, we aren't quite at the level that we left off at the previous episode, simply because what I was showing off at the end of last episode was my test map. So our forestry and farming industries are actually only at level 2 for right now. And what we're going to do is we're actually just going to let them level up in the background as we continue to expand our city. Now, city expansion is sort of the topic for today's episode. I have gone ahead and I have purchased this next tile up over here in anticipation of our next expansion project. And what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be upgrading this interchange here from a 3-way interchange to a 4-way interchange. Alright, so we are going to be following the same principle as our previous episode, and we're going to be keeping things quite simple. So simple that what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be taking the Cloverleaf interchange and just modifying it to make our own interchange from that. I've gone ahead and I have created the asset already, and I will be making it available to everybody in the Steam workshop, as well as a time-lapse video of me making the asset in the asset editor for people to watch. However, I'm sticking with no mods or assets from the Steam workshop for this map. So to be putting it in the map itself, we're gonna just make it ourselves here. And this video will act as a walkthrough guide for people who want to make the asset themselves, or they're working on their own asset and they can maybe use something that I do to make this asset for their own asset, hopefully. So the first thing is, what I can do is just so that people can get a view of what the end result is going to be, I can place the asset over here in the corner and just give everybody a quick look at what it's going to be like in the end. So it has the same footprint, basically the same footprint as the Cloverleaf interchange, except for instead of clovers on the side, it has a slightly different layout of the on and off ramps going from either highways. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to just pause the game. We do not want to have any of the goods and services going towards the city to be interrupted from us deleting the interchange here. And as for deleting the interchange, what we're going to do is we're going to start with deleting one highway segment on either side of the interchange that's here, and then we're going to delete the interchange itself. And what that does is that actually it gives us the exact size that we need to place the Cloverleaf interchange in the exact same spot. But before we do that, we want to make sure that we level out the terrain. If we go to the terrain editing tool here, landscaping and disasters, and then into the landscaping tools, what we can see is there are some contour lines that are showing us that the terrain here is not quite flat. So to make our lives easier, we are going to just go ahead and we are going to flatten out the terrain here. Alright, now that should be good enough, and what we're going to do is I've deleted 2 more little highway segments here, so when we place in our Cloverleaf here, we're going to make sure it's connected to the highway to the right and to the bottom here instead of the highway to the left, because it's a little bit shorter than it originally was. We're going to place the Cloverleaf interchange here, and then what we're going to do is we are going to fully disconnect the interchange here from the rest of the highway, and what that does is that leaves us with just the stock Cloverleaf interchange here. And I've actually based my modifications off of the stock interchange, so having it standalone, not connected to any other highways, is going to make it a little bit easier for us, I think, and myself. And as for the modifications to the Cloverleaf interchange, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be deleting the clovers within each quadrant here, and that's going to provide us enough room to actually create our own custom on and off ramps to the highway. I like to use the dirt road tool as a guideline for any sort of road work that I'm going to be doing, especially if I'm working with highways. You don't have to use the dirt road tool, but I like it because it's the cheapest one. We will be using the 2-lane road in a little bit, but I like to start with the dirt road tool. Another benefit of that is it actually has the grid network off to the side here, whereas the highway doesn't, because you can't put any commercial or residential or industrial districts right next to your highway. So having the grid beside the road here will actually help us out quite a bit, as well as any other road guidelines that are created by any other road segments that I'm going to add, we're actually going to be using. Another benefit of the dirt road is actually, what you can do is the dirt road is a little bit more versatile than some of the other road types. So what you can do is create what you want with dirt road and then upgrade it to the type that you actually want to use. And so if we go to the highway ramp and we place that in here, you can't actually have a 90-degree angle for your highway ramp. Usually you don't want to, simply because the speeds of the citizens going down here is going to be restricted by 90-degree turns. So the highway ramp here is actually a little bit higher speed than your residential roads. So it doesn't let you create a 90-degree angle just because your citizens are going to be traveling fast enough that a 90-degree angle isn't safe. But what you can do is if you have a dirt road and you have it at 90 degrees, you can actually go back to the highway and upgrade your dirt road to the highway ramp, and you can see that you have a 90-degree angle here. Now we're not going to have any 90-degree angles in our interchange, but it's actually going to be useful because actually we'll get to that. Actually, I'll show you when we get there. Now, so after we've deleted the clovers within each quadrant, the dirt road is going to be our guide road, and we're going to start by putting $60 worth of dirt road perpendicular to the end of each highway segment here. Now these little perpendicular dirt roads are going to provide us with guidelines that are going to run parallel to our highway segments, and they're going to be far enough away from the highway so that when we eventually connect our roads up to the highway here, it's going to be far enough away that we won't get any errors. But what we're going to do is we're going to follow the guideline here parallel to the highway and up into the corner here of the quadrant where it intersects with the other guideline from this other perpendicular dirt road that we put in. And at that crossing point, we are going to create a dirt road that is one large unit down and 4 small units down. So that'll be $280 worth of dirt road, and we're going to put that in parallel to each highway segment in each quadrant. So the next step that we're going to do is we are going to start making our tunnels that are going to be going underneath the highway to allow citizens to go from one highway to the other. And for that, I like to use the 2-lane road, mostly because the dirt road, you can't make tunnels with the dirt road. So it makes an obvious choice to switch to the 2-lane road. So we're going to do that. And you can see our grid network here. We're going to actually start using that. So from the end of each highway, from each dirt road segment, we're going to go 2 grid units across and 2 grid units up. And we're going to start our road here. Actually, before we get to that, let me just remind you, I have an elevation step here, and I'm using the largest elevation step for our tunnel here. So we're going to go 2 across, 2 up, start our road, and we're going to hit page down to go 1 step. And then we're going to build a tunnel that's going to cost $1,680. So if we do that again on the other side here, we're going to go, this time we're going to go 2 grid units to the left, 2 up, start our road, and then make our tunnel, and then get to the point where it's going to cost us $1,680. Now for you, if you're building your tunnels here, if for whatever reason it's not allowing you to create it at $1,680, that might be because your terrain is not level. So what I would do is I would go back to the terrain editing tool and either level the terrain in the area that you're trying to create your tunnel, or using the soften terrain tool, actually I find sometimes works to soften the terrain in the area that you're trying to make your tunnel. Okay, it's looking good right now. Very complicated, but it's relatively simple. So what we're going to do next is we're going to connect our parallel dirt roads here to the highway, and we're going to do that with the dirt road tool actually still. So if you remember, I talked to you before about being able to create 90-degree turns with the highway ramp if you start with the dirt road and then upgrade to the highway ramp. So this is a good example of using that little trick to be able to put in the roads that we want to. If we go to the highway tool right now, we're actually unable to connect the highway ramp to any point of our highway right here. But if I start with the dirt road tool, I can actually connect it right here. If I delete this little segment at the end here, I can connect it here or at the very end. So what we want to do is we want to start from the dirt road and go to the first point that the game is going to let us connect our dirt road to the highway. And we're going to go along, pardon me, and we are going to connect the dirt road to the first point on every single highway segment here that it's running parallel to. And what we can actually do is, we're not going to need these little segments of perpendicular dirt road that we first put in, so let's actually delete those all right now, just to make it a little bit easier for ourselves. Next step is we are going to hook up the tunnel to the dirt road here. Now, the trick for upgrading the dirt road to the highway ramp is good and bad. So as you can see, it's actually going to allow us to connect to the dirt road right here. But if we do that, it's not going to allow us to upgrade our original off-ramp here to a highway ramp. So what we want to do is we actually want to make sure that when we connect our tunnels to the dirt road here, that we are connecting to this first node that is showing up. We don't want to split this other section of dirt road here. I believe it's too small to be split and then upgraded to something different. So the angle that our off ramp is going to be to go to the tunnel is going to be a little bit tight, and our traffic will have to slow down a little bit, but it won't be that noticeable for us. So we're just going to go around and we are going to connect each tunnel to the first node of the dirt road. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to start upgrading our dirt roads to highway off-ramps, or pardon me, highway ramps. And what we want to do is we want to upgrade our original connection to the highway, our connection to the tunnel, and the first segment of dirt road that runs beside our tunnel there. And what we want to do while we're doing this is also upgrade the tunnel itself. And we want to make sure that the direction of our roads is going the way that we want it to go. So the ramps that we're connected to the highway here, we want to make sure they're running in the same direction as the highway that they're connected to. So all these ones in this case need to be changed except for the tunnel, and they are going to be running up towards the top there. So we're going to go around and we are going to upgrade each of our dirt road segments. So we're going to, like I said again, I'm going to upgrade the dirt road connected directly to the highway, the dirt road connected to the tunnel, and the dirt road that runs beside the tunnel itself. We're going to leave this section of dirt road for now. We're actually going to delete it here in a minute. And then we're also going to upgrade the tunnel. And then we're just going to make sure that the direction of traffic is in the same direction that the highway is going, that all these ramps are connected to. So in this case, we only had to change the direction of the tunnel itself by right-clicking, and that will change the direction that the traffic is traveling. Now this next step is where it's going to start getting a little bit complicated, but we're going to try and simplify it a little bit by deleting some of the roads that are above here when we're making our tunnels. So if we were going to try and make our tunnels right now, what we're going to find is that it gets a little bit complicated with the roads above here. It makes it a little bit harder for us to get to where we want to go and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to delete a bunch of stuff above ground and then replace it afterwards. Specifically these dirt roads, we're not going to need them anymore, actually at all. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this highway segment that's flat against the ground. I'm going to go 1 unit back from where the overpass is. And then I'm going to just delete the overpass itself. And so now I haven't deleted as much highway going up and down as I have going left to right, so that I can keep track of now that I know left to right is the highway that was originally flat against the ground, and then the highway here that's not been deleted as much is the highway where the overpass was. So then when I go back to replace it, I know which highway was where. Now from here, what we want to do is we want to connect the tunnels from one side of the highway diagonal across to the other side. So this tunnel here is going up. We want to make sure it's connected to the tunnel over here that is now going to the left. We do not want to connect it over here to the tunnel that is coming straight down, because the traffic won't be able to exit the tunnel as it goes in. So if you followed along and you put the direction of the on and off ramps here that we put on the same direction as the highway, your direction of traffic should be the same as what I have. And you need to make sure that traffic going into the tunnel can exit the tunnel diagonal across on the other side. So for right now, we're just going to connect these two sections right here. And if you want to make sure that your alignment is somewhat correct, you can look at this tunnel here, and you can see that the spacing between these two tunnels is actually the same along the length of the tunnel itself. So we know that our kind of geometry and spacing of the highway and the ramps is somewhat correct. Now, for the next set of tunnels, we want to cross it over here. But since we already have the first set put in, it's going to give us an error, and it's not going to let us put in our tunnel because it's interfering with our first tunnel. Now, what we don't want to do is we don't want to connect directly to the tunnel here, because that's going to create an intersection for us in the middle of our tunnel there, and we don't want to do that because that's going to cause traffic trouble for us. So what we want to do is we want to avoid putting any intersections in our off-ramp. So what we need to do is we need to actually modify our original tunnel. And to do that, I'm going to switch to the two-lane road. And what I'm going to do is I want to step down again, one more step on the tunnel here in the middle. And that will provide a pathway for this new tunnel to go on top of the first tunnel. So if we were to delete the tunnel now, we're going to be deleting segments that are too large for us. So using the two-lane road, we can actually create a little cross here. We're going to start at the corner and go 2 units down and cross over and just connect it. This is just going to be temporary. We're going to go 2 units down from the corner and then across. And what that lets us do is it lets us delete these tunnel segments here and then still have a little bit of the original tunnel from what we put down before. We're going to switch back to the ramp. We're going to hook up to our original road here, and we're going to step down one more step. I'm on the largest elevation step still, so we're going to go page down, and we're going to go down 1, and we're going to wait till we see the first point that we can make our tunnel, and we're going to go 1 unit further than that. So that'll be $1,440. So we can go across, and now we can go up to the next one. That'll be $1,440. And we're going to just look on the side here, and we're going to make sure that those 2 tunnels are stepping down parallel to each other. We're going to go back up to the top here, and then we are going to go down 1 more step, also coming from the other side. So it'll be $1,440 again, and then we're going to go across and then up to the tunnel connecting to the surface over here. And then again, we're going to check and just make sure that our ramps are going down parallel to each other and they're even. We'll rotate back up to the top here, and then what we can do is we can connect these 2 road segments, and what that'll do is that will provide us enough space for the new tunnel to go over top of our first set of tunnels there. So we're going to hook those tunnels up right now. And we're going to back out of this underground view here. Well, before we do that, actually what we should do is just double check and make sure that the traffic is going in the correct direction. And everything looks pretty good to me. So we're going to back out of here. And then we are going to replace our highway. So going to our highway tool, we are going to just replace the highway segment that's parallel to the ground here first. And then the next segment that we're going to replace is the overpass. So we're going to go 1 step up, and we're going to connect right into the middle there. We're going to do that from the other side as well. And then we're going to go from the top there and right down to the road segment there. Now everything should look pretty much the same as it did before. And from here, to complete our interchange, all we need to do is we are going to go to the highway ramp. We're going to select the curved road, and we are going to go from these segments here where we had the 90-degree angle turn, and we're going to just click, and we're going to go up to the road guideline of the other ramp here. We're going to click again and come across. Now for doing these, the direction that you draw your road is the direction that the traffic goes. So we don't want to start from the right side here going to the left, because that will be the wrong direction of traffic. So we can just simply, to fix that, we can just upgrade the road here by right-clicking on it. So just to make it easier for ourselves, if we draw the road in the direction that we want the traffic to go, then we don't have to upgrade it in the future. Okay, from here we can see that we have a pretty good looking interchange, I think. And the next step is just going to be connecting it back up to the highway network. The last step that we want to do here is we want to just resume the simulation and see how traffic flows through our intersection, and then make any adjustments that we need to based off of what we see, how the traffic reacts to our new intersection here. And looking at it just right off the bat here real quick, it looks like the on and off ramps going into our tunnels are going to be causing a little bit of a slowdown for the traffic, and I think that has to do with how sharp this curve here is, and actually how short the ramp is here before it merges onto the next ramp. And I think that's going to cause a little bit of trouble for us, so I think it's better that we fix it now rather than leave it and fix it in the future. So I think the best thing for us to do, we're going to pause the game again, and what we're going to do is we are going to extend the ramp coming out of the tunnel and have it connect up to the highway a little bit further down. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to delete all these little segments of road going into our tunnel here. I'm going to switch back to the dirt road tool and use that as a guide. And we're going to bring it down $60 worth of dirt road from the tunnel. And then we're going to bring that down and connect up to the highway. Let's make it $240 worth of road there. I think that will actually suit us much better. So I'm going to go ahead and make the changes for all the tunnels here. And then from there, we're going to do just like we did last time, and we're going to upgrade our dirt roads to the highway ramps. Make sure that the direction that these highway ramps are going is again the same as the highway that it is connected to. And now another small tweak that I'd like to do is I would like to make this corner here a little bit smoother. So we're going to go ahead and we'd like to delete one of these segments, maybe halfway in here, so that we can use the curve road tool to connect the tunnel up to the ramp here. And so to achieve that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the dirt road tool and attach little segments onto here. And that way it will allow me to split that ramp. And then I can go back and use the curve road tool to put the ramp into the tunnel here. I think that looks much better here on the right side than the left over here. It's very subtle, but I think it does look a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and make those changes. And we're going to resume the simulation again and let our traffic here adjust to the new layout. I think that the traffic is adjusting nicely to the new version of our interchange. There doesn't seem to be as much of a slowdown at the merge points from our ramps to the highway here, at least nowhere near what we were seeing in the previous version of our interchange. And I'm quite happy with the result after the adjustments that we made. So I will be making these changes to the asset for upload to the Steam Workshop. So if anybody does decide to download the asset from the Steam Workshop, you will be getting this version of the interchange rather than the version that I showed you at the very beginning of the episode. So I apologize for that, but I think this version is going to be much better than what we had before. And with that, I think that'll be the end of this episode. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope anybody who was following along was able to make their own interchange. And if not, as I said, it will be on the Steam Workshop for everybody to download who has access to that. And thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you liked the video, don't hesitate to give it a like or subscribe to my channel. I will be having more City Skylines videos coming out in the future.